Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at a 10-0 win streak in the Open Ultra League featuring a pretty unexpected pick. Level 50 PILOSWINE. PILOSWINE is a ground and ice type Pokemon with a moveset of Powder Snow, Avalanche, and High Horsepower. And the ground and ice type combination is really good into the current Open Ultra League meta. You have the ground, of course, for the Steelix, and ice for all the Verian and Dragonite. And this trainer pairs it up with a Golisopod lead and a Shadow Tyranitar closer. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's check out the team in action. Hopping into the first match, picking up a negative lead Golisopod into Shadow Dragonite. Two better responses in the back, so we see a save switch into PILOSWINE. Opponent is going to stay in and farm up a little bit of energy with the Dragonite before they send in Jellicent. PILOSWINE with an energy lead is able to get to these high horsepowers quite quickly. Jellicent is going to be firing off the Surf, but Surf is not going to be enough to KO. PILOSWINE does have some okay bulk to it. PILOSWINE able to farm up and make it to another high horsepower. High horsepower not going to get a KO here, but it will do a solid amount of damage. PILOSWINE farming up to the Avalanche, but just cannot quite get there. In comes Golisopod. Golisopod will be met with a Shadow Ball from the Jellicent, and Shadow Ball does quite a lot of damage. Opponent ends up switching out. They send in Skuntank, and this is setting up beautifully for a Smackdown Shadow Tyranitar sweep. Liquidation will be shielded. In comes the Tyranitar. Is that a shiny Shadow as well? Oh my goodness, the flex. Crunch will be shielded. Tyranitar, the Smackdowns absolutely shredding through the Skuntank. Skuntank is going to be firing off another Crunch. Tyranitar looking for the farm down and gets the farm down, leaving with a ton of energy. Dragonite banked energy, but importantly, they do not have a move. So if they send in the Dragonite, Dragonite is just going to be deleted by a move, but a beautiful switch by the opponent as they catch the Brutal Swing onto Jellicent. But the bad news for the opponent is this Tyranitar has a second Brutal Swing that does massive damage to the Dragonite, and Shadow Tyranitar takes the win. We see a tough lead in the next match, Golisopod into Shadow Ampharos. Immediate save switch into the PILOSWINE. Opponent is going to respond with Cobalion. Definitely nice to see the Cobalion here, as it would absolutely destroy the poor Tyranitar in the back. PILOSWINE farming up a ton of energy and going for the high horsepower. This will hit for super effective damage into the Cobalion. Cobalion is going to no shield. That does massive damage, and the PILOSWINE able to hang on, make it to the Avalanche as the opponent tries to go for the farm down. That is going to cost them a shield. This is a bit awkward though. Stone Edge does hit for super effective damage on the Golisopod. Do you shield the Golisopod? No. Choosing to save both shields for the Shadow Tyranitar in the back. Stone Edge connects. Golisopod gets the farm down. In comes the Ampharos. Ampharos will be met with a liquidation. It's unlikely the opponent is going to give up the final shield here, so they will let that through, and it's a simultaneous switch. Oh boy, this is going to be tough. Tyranitar versus Venusaur, and the opponent makes a mistake. They throw on alignment, giving Tyranitar a Smackdown for free. Tyranitar farming up and firing off the Brutal Swing into the Venusaur. Opponent has to let this go if they want a chance to win the game, and by shielding, the opponent has now lost. They try and go for the farm down, but Tyranitar able to make it to the Stone Edge, take down the Ampharos. Things look scary in the endgame, but still managing to take the win. Picking up a great lead in the next match, Golisopod into Verian. And the Verian is staying in this matchup. Verian will be able to outpace by one singular turn as they fire off the Leaf Blade. No shield from the Golisopod. Opponent is going to save switch into Greedent, and Greedent will immediately be answered with a Liquidation. Liquidation connects and does get the defense drop. That is incredibly nice. And now in comes PILOSWINE. PILOSWINE will be able to absorb the charge moves from the Greedent, no problem. Body Slam number 1. Greedent already at Body Slam number 2. The Mud Shot Body Slam combination from Greedent is absolutely no joke. Farming up, and at the back-to-back avalanches here, and this is a CMP tie. Greedent is a pretty bulky Pokemon, but thanks to the defense drop, that is going to be enough to get the KO. And now if the opponent sends in the Verian, they're going to have to deal with super effective damage. They send in Steelix, and the opponent is core broken by the PILOSWINE. PILOSWINE baits with the Avalanche, grabs the shield. PILOSWINE able to make it to the high horsepower. The move is fired off on alignment here, and the opponent no shields. That does massive damage. Steelix leaves with a ton of energy energy. In comes the Tyranitar. Tyranitar calling the bait. They easily have enough for the Earthquake, but Steelix is never go for the big move. Easy call for the Tyranitar. Tyranitar no shielding again. Steelix this time will go for the Earthquake, and now it's all up to Golisopod. Golisopod is going to need to start shielding, but with shields to hide behind, the opponent does not have a good way of getting rid of the Golisopod. Golisopod looking for the farm down and gets it, just has way too much energy for that Verian to deal with, and 3 Aerial Aces will be enough to guarantee the win. The first is able to connect. This second one is going to be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. Golisopod's health is deep into the red, but double kick just not going to cut it for the opponent. Golisopod, Aerial Ace, gets the KO onto Verian, and the win streak continues. Moving into the next match, leading Golisopod into Swampert. Absolutely amazing lead. Swampert is completely walled here. Opponent save switches into a Guzzlord, and Guzzlord will be answered with Tyranitar. Oh my goodness, this is not a matchup I think I have ever seen before. Guzzlord versus Tyranitar. Brutal Swing is able to grab a shield from the opponent, and this is a bit tough if you're the Tyranitar. I definitely don't mind the no shield there, as Tyranitar didn't really have a good way to keep switch. And now, do you send in the Golisopod? No, sending in the Piloswine. Piloswine gonna have to put in a lot of work. Opponent looks like they may have lagged for a couple turns there, but they are going to be able to fire off their energy. Dragon Claw will connect. Guzzlord able to make it to the back-to-back moves, and again we see the no shield from the Piloswine. Piloswine able to withstand that crunch. Piloswine gets the farm down, leaving with a massive amount of energy. In comes the Swampert. Swampert is going to be met with the back-to-back avalanches. Avalanche number 1 will connect, going for Avalanche number 2. This will not KO, but it will get Swampert deep into the red. Swampert is going to no shield. In comes Golisopod in the back. It's Giratina. This is a potential winning matchup for Golisopod. A debuff from Liquidation would be helpful. Liquidation does not get the debuff, and that is extremely unfortunate. Golisopod is gonna no shield. Is it Ancient Power? Thankfully not. Opponent just running Dragon Claw and Shadow Sneak. Going to fire off the Aerial Ace now. Aerial Ace does incrementally more damage than the Liquidation. We will see the no shield again from the opponent, but Golisopod has to start shielding. Dragon Claw will be shielded. Golisopod continuing to farm, making it to the Aerial Ace, and we should see the final shield from the opponent here. They need to start protecting the Giratina, and we see a sensational catch, catching the move from the Giratina onto the low health Piloswine. Opponent undercharges, they snipe with a mud shot, but all this is going to do is just give Golisopod farm. The opponent goes for the Hydro, that's shielded up. Golisopod leaves with the Aerial Ace and going to go for a little bit of bad manners here, able to make it to the Liquidation and secure the win. Moving into the next match, and we see another amazing lead, this time Golisopod into Shadow Walrein. Golisopod, after those first couple leads were rough, now picking up some nice leads. Golisopod farming up a ton of energy and going for the Aerial Ace as the Walrein makes it to a potential Earthquake. Walrein's energy is completely walled here. The advantage that Walrein has is it's a lot bulkier than the Golisopod, so even though its energy is walled, it can still make this matchup fairly close. Golisopod continuing to farm, firing off the Aerial Ace here into the Walrein. Walrein is going to no shield. Golisopod continuing to farm, and we see a shield from the Golisopod. Walrein is going to fire off the Icicle Spear. Golisopod returning fire with the Aerial Ace, wanting to get the Walrein out of the way. Aerial Ace will be no shielded. Opponent taking shield advantage. In comes Piloswine to the Charizard, and the opponent is now going to send in Swampert. And oh my goodness, this sets up Charizard to get deleted by the Tyranitar in the back. These smackdowns are going to be a thing of beauty. Firing off the Avalanche. We see the no shield from the opponent. 2-shield Charizard can win a lot of games, but guess what? It's not going to win this one. We're going to see the no shield from the Piloswine as the Hydro Cannon will secure the KO. Back in comes the Golisopod. Golisopod does not have to shield this. Hydro Cannon not going to be enough to KO. Golisopod able to withstand that damage, looking for the farm down. In comes the Charizard to snipe, and in comes the Tyranitar. Get absolutely deleted. Tyranitar doesn't have to shield a thing. Charizard goes for the Blast Burn. Tyranitar smacks down the Charizard and the Swampert, and that's a good game. Moving into the next match, leading Golisopod into Talonflame. This is a bit awkward. Ideally, you would love to put this... Oh my goodness, we have a low battery warning as well. Ideally, you would like to put this onto the Tyranitar, but you can't really afford to switch out of this matchup. We do see a shield on the Liquidation. I believe Golisopod did actually miss a Shadow Claw due to that battery notification popping up. Golisopod continuing to farm, and Golisopod did. That's extremely unfortunate. Golisopod is going to commit the shield as Talonflame goes for the Flame Charge. Very nice charge move timing, 2 Shadow Claws and the Liquidation. This is super effective damage. Talonflame, double shield. We see a switch into the Tyranitar, nearly able to snipe, and the opponent sends in a Giratina. So it turns out they have 0 response to the Shadow Tyranitar. Dragon Claw will connect. Shadow Tyranitar going for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing is a pretty nice move, and Shadow Tyranitar hits very hard, getting the Giratina low. And we're going to see a no shield from the Tyranitar. Tyranitar able to withstand the Dragon Claw, just cannot get the farm down. And in comes Piloswine. Piloswine able to Powder Snow down. Opponent can send in the Talon, but the Talon is too low. It gets KO'd, and in the back, it is Cresselia. Opponent is going to have to deal with a lot of avalanches here, and there's still a shield for the Piloswine, as well as a potential catch onto the Golisopod. Already at Avalanche number 2, the Powder Snow Avalanche combination is very nice, and it looks like all it's going to take is 3 Avalanches, and that's going to be game over for the Cresselia. Cresselia is running Grass Knot. We see the Piloswine trying to go for the catch onto the Golisopod, does not get the catch, but Golisopod makes the Liquidation, and even failing the catch, the Liquidation onto the Cresselia means that the win streak goes on. The win streak will face its toughest test in the next match, leading Golisopod into Galvantula. If you see a Galvantula lead, oftentimes it is probably going to be the team that has, there it is, the Jellicent and the Mandibuzz in the back. In comes the Jellicent, Jellicent going for the Surf, but as we've seen, Surf not really an issue for the Piloswine. Piloswine able to withstand that damage and fire off the high horsepower. High horsepower, it's gonna hurt. We see the no shield from the Jellicent. Piloswine continuing to farm. Piloswine not going to be able to make it to a move. That's unfortunate. Surf will secure the KO. In comes Golisopod. Golisopod farming up energy. Golisopod is going to be hit with a Shadow Ball, and we see a no shield from the Golisopod as the Shadow Ball connects. Golisopod looking for a farm down and gets the farm down, and that is absolutely massive, as now Golisopod has energy that it can threaten the Galvantula with. Galvantula will be hit with the Liquidation. Liquidation is shielded. Galv going for the lunge. We do see the shield from the Golisopod. Golisopod looking to switch into the Tyranitar. Tyranitar getting absolutely massive damage onto the Galvantula in the back. It's the team. We've all seen the team. It's the Mandibuzz in the back. Stone Edge gets shielded. Mandibuzz, its energy is completely walled here. Foul play, resisted. Aerial Ace, resisted. Heck, even if they're running Shadow Ball, it's resisted. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. We see a tough COREBREAKER on the lead in the next match, Golisopod into Greninja. Greninja, unfortunately, is a problem for Golisopod if Golisopod is not running X-Scissor, and more often than not, if you're running Golisopod, at least when I run it, I definitely prefer to run the Aerial Ace version. Aerial Ace gives you way more play into Verian, whereas if you have X-Scissor, you just lose that matchup. Opponent actually going to switch out, they send in Giratina, and Giratina will be answered with the Shadow Shiny Smackdown Tyranitar. Tyranitar will be hit with the Dragon Claw. Tyranitar, not known for its bulk, as it's already in the red. Going to fire off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing will be shielded by the opponent. Can Tyranitar make it to the Brutal Swing? It cannot. Down goes the Tyranitar, and in comes Piloswine. Piloswine, these Powder Snows hitting for super effective damage, but this Giratina left with quite a lot of energy, and already at back-to-back Dragon Claws, we see the double no-shield from the Piloswine. This is going to be an extremely tough game to try and figure out a way to win. Very nice counting. Overfarming and playing to the CMP tie. Avalanche will secure the knockout. Opponent sends in Greninja, and we see a switch into the Golisopod. Is it the Hydro Cannon? It's the Night Slash. Nice play by the opponent, and it is a CMP tie. Firing off this Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace will be no-shielded by the Greninja, and it's a Trevenant in the back. Oh man, this is going to be really tough. Firing off this Aerial Ace that will be shielded up. Trevenant has this Piloswine extremely low, but Piloswine has 2 shields to hide behind. Piloswine is going to commit the shield as Trev fires off the Seed Bomb. Can Piloswine double up on moves? It cannot. Forced to burn the final shield. It all comes down to this. Did the Greninja bank a charge move? If they did, Greninja wins. But if they don't have a move, Piloswine wins. And Piloswine is able to win the game. Greninja does not have the move loaded. The Water Shuriken went through. And against all odds, despite that terrible lead, the win streak continues, as you can see there, claiming the nice little 5-0, getting the Wooloo, and I believe we have one additional game after this as well, climbing up to 31-20 ELO, one final game, Golisopod versus Cresselia. Not a bad matchup for the Golisopod whatsoever. Opponent save switches into Registeel, and this is a problem spot for this team, as Registeel can hit the entire team for super effective damage. Liquidation will connect onto the Registeel. Golisopod continuing to farm. Golisopod is going to commit the shield as the opponent fires off the Zap Cannon. They're fishing for a debuff, and they get it. That's extremely unfortunate. Ideally, you would love to be able to try and catch a Zap Cannon onto the Piloswine, but it's going to be tough. Farming up, we see the switch. Does not get the catch. That's extremely unfortunate. Piloswine, can it take a Focus Blast? It's a Flash Cannon! What the heck? Oh my goodness. The opponent running Flash Cannon. They are not running Focus Blast. Avalanche will connect. Avalanche not enough to KO. And just gonna let the Piloswine go. The opponent running a very interesting Registeel moveset. At this point, what do you get energy on? The Tyranitar or the Golisopod? Gonna send back in the Golisopod. Oh my goodness. They have Charizard in the back. When is the switch clock up? You would love to be able to delete this with Smackdowns. The switch timer is up at the perfect moment. And that's gonna be goodbye to the Charizard. Charizard goes for the Blast Burn. Guess what? Tyranitar does not care, able to withstand that damage. In comes the Cresselia, but Cresselia has 0 fast move pressure here. Psycho Cut not going to be doing a lot due to the dark subtyping. Brutal Swing will be shielded. Cresselia continuing to farm. Opponent throwing on very nice charge move timing here. Tyranitar looking to make it to a Brutal Swing. This will hit for massive damage, and Tyranitar makes it to the Brutal Swing, and the switch clock will be up soon. Brutal Swing connects. We see a switch into the Golisopod. Golisopod should just take this game from here, as Moonblast is not going to be enough to KO, and Golisopod able to hang on, and Liquidation will take the win. I had a ton of fun getting to watch these battles. This is definitely one of the more creative teams I've seen in the Open Ultra League in a while, and Piloswine does feel like a really nice meta read. That ice ground coverage is just really nice into a lot of things that you can see in the moment, and the Shadow Tyranitar definitely on the spicier side of things, but hey, if everyone's bringing Charizard, then a rock type may not be the worst idea in the world. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.